Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Sipping with SOLZ, episode 30. I think we're already on 30. 30 episodes in? This is crazy. Hopefully everyone is doing well. Hopefully everyone is doing great. This is the middle of the week episode. This is the episode recorded on Wednesday, going up on Thursday episode. As you can see with the title and thumbnail of this podcast, we have a special guest in the building. We have a conversation at some point during this podcast, during this video, with my friend of the show, Toasted. All right. For those who don't know who Toasted is, which a lot of y'all respectfully to Toasted do not, because he's a guy that works behind the scenes. He's a guy that's worked with creators like Agent, AMP, Mr. Beast. Yes, you heard that right. The Gymster himself. And other really big content creators. Really smart guy. Really insightful conversations that we had during our conversation with him. So that is going to be at some point during this podcast. Hope you guys enjoy it, and shout out to Toasted for coming on to the show. Outside of that, we got a lot of things to talk about before we get into the interview portion, y'all. Listen, SOLZ. We can have a lot of conversations about Sol right now. Streamer University, his beef with Zoe Spencer. But I'm going to be honest with you, I want to take a little bit of a different positive route when it comes to the SOLZ conversation. And I want to use him as the first ever case study that we do on this podcast. This is one segment that I want to do moving forward. Hopefully every single podcast is analyze a specific creator, exactly what they're doing well, why they're succeeding within the social media sphere. Because these are just things that I just naturally, subconsciously do at this point. I've had to take on the Let's Keep It a Book podcast that, like, I don't even consume at least YouTube from like a pure entertainment standpoint anymore. Everything is just me studying something, which is very unhealthy, but it is what it is. Might as well talk about it with y'all. And there's a lot of interesting things to be said about SOLZ and his growth and his comeback recently. We'll get into that as well. I also want to talk about AI, bro. I also want to talk about AI because it's getting scary out here, yo. Like, I ain't gonna lie. It's getting scary out here. But with that being said, if you guys enjoy the podcast, leave a like on the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a 5-star review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. As far as what I'm drinking today, I got regular Coke. Yes, I do buy both diet and regular Coke, but sometimes it's just nice to have the regular shit. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you be missing the OG shit. And I got it with me today. You know what I'm saying? Something light. But with that being said, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about SOLZ, y'all. Let's talk about SOLZ. So, for those who do not know about SOLZ, but if you are watching this clip, this podcast, whatever, you probably already do. He is one of the OGs in the WRL community, a guy that originated in the 2K community, but has blossomed into a more general content creator. And this is a guy that has a very controversial rise, has a lot of viral moments, a lot of viral pieces. And this is a guy that specifically in the WRL streaming space is considered one of the godfathers of streaming. You know, there's a couple names out there that when you talk about influence on the game, when you talk about who, you know, the top dogs were directly influenced by, that they will say outright they were influenced by, SOLZ is one of those names. SOLZ is one of those names. I would say next to Chris Smoove, SOLZ is, you know, when we talk about your favorite black creators' inspiration, black streamers' inspiration, SOLZ is up there for a lot of these people. You ask specifically Rage and Bruce Drop 'Em Off, I believe they would say their number one inspirations was SOLZ. Probably a couple other people out there. I know guys like Aiden Ross have given him his credit due to his influence and things of that nature. But, you know, already one of the most influential content creators within the space. One thing that's interesting about So, though, and really why I want to talk about him, is for those who have been following his journey or not following. This is a guy that's taken a lot of big breaks. A lot of big breaks. We're talking about months at a time, damn near years at a time. People just don't know what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? He had a whole woke journey at some point called Spiritual So. You know what I'm saying? Everyone knew him for the fun content at some point, the funny expose, reacts, basketball, 2K content, and then at some point, I don't know exactly how he got there. He turned into like a conspiracy theorist, you know, mindset, spiritual, sun gazing. Like his content pivoted to that, and because of the diehard audience that he built, that surprisingly succeeded, which is, you know, very hard pivot. But I think that speaks to the community that he's built. But again, this is a guy that takes really, really big breaks. But he is also one of those people, and it takes a very special person. Not everyone can pull this off. Where when he comes back, they wait. They wait for him to come back. You know what I'm saying? Whenever he comes back, there's gonna be 200, 300,000 people you know, waiting for the next Soluminati piece, regardless of when it is. I'm gonna actually pull it up here real quick, like exactly when, you know, like how long these breaks are. Because I think it's interesting to really study all of this stuff. So we got it. Damn, I didn't have the overlay. My bad, y'all. So if you look right here, we're looking at 1 year, 9 months. So from this video to this video, we're looking at 5 months already, right? We're looking at 5 months already right here. You know, 4 months. And then, you know, we're looking at 3 weeks, not 3 weeks, Jesus. 3 months between this upload and this upload. But yeah, this is a guy that's definitely cooled off over these last 2, 3, 4 years. Wasn't as consistent as he once was. But as you can see, when he uploads, people wait. People come back flocking. We're looking at 600,000 here, 500,000, 900,000, you know, 1 million right here. Well, this is a special video. RIP God Triller. 400K, 400K, 1.2 mil. So we're looking at every time he uploads, chat, 400K seems like the floor. And I think that's a very, very special person. It takes a very special creator to pull that off. You know what I'm saying? So today I want to analyze exactly how he got here. And what are the character, not exactly how he got here, because that may take too much time, but exactly what are the characteristics about Soluminati that allows him to build this type of following. So I think we need to start off by exactly how he built his base. Because again, a lot of his following was from the React days, was from when YouTube was at its prime, when being a YouTuber was still cool. He built millions of subscribers through that, through long form, which we know, you know, compared to the TikTok followings now, and hell, even Twitch, you know, long form YouTube following is probably the most loyal following that you can build, just on average. You know what I'm saying? So I think one, that's a very big part of it is the platform that he chose. I think another part of it is him pivoting, not even pivoting. I think another important part of this is that even when he was doing 2K content, the content was never fully transactional in terms of he wasn't doing how-to videos, he wasn't doing jump shot videos, he wasn't doing build videos. The content was always centered around Soluminati as a personality. So despite him niching down into 2K, you know, people didn't really watch him just for the 2K gameplay. It was a part of it, absolutely. It was the canvas. But people watched him for his personality. This is a guy that to this day, as you can see, is still a naturally funny person. You know what I'm saying? But I think in terms of him coming back, I think there's a point, not only in content creation, but I think in celebrity culture as well, artist culture, especially. Where I think one of the best things you can do is to take a big break. One of the best things you can do is to take a big break. What does that mean? What does that mean? First of all, not everyone can do this, right? I think a lot of this is built by years of really, really grinding, and like no one is able to build this type of cachet without some sort of consistency and just, going on a crazy run at some point in their life. But once you reach a certain level, you become so iconic in the sphere that you're in that you have the luxury to really slow down, because when you come back, people will be waiting for that next drop. I think the biggest example of this is Rihanna. The last album she released was in 2016. But because of how good that album was, it still exists. But because of how good that album is, because of all the notoriety and fame that she built during her prime years, this is an A-list celebrity. It's Rihanna. I don't gotta explain that. It's Rihanna, right? When she comes back, you may make a case that her numbers aren't as big as what they would have been if she dropped 5 years ago, but she is one of those artists where when she drops, it don't matter if it's been 9 years. It's really been 9 years. People will, at the very least, listen. At the very least, listen, right? I think Kendrick Lamar is another one of these artists. Not that long of a gap, but people will wait 3 to 4 years for the next Kendrick drop. I think Kai Cenat, to bring it into the content space, is another person that at this point he is so famous. He has become such an iconic name within the space that Kai can stop streaming for the next 2 months. By that first stream he comes back in 2 to 3 months, everyone gonna be watching. Everyone is gonna be watching exactly, for the explanation. Why did he take a big break? I think even on a lower example, in respect to him, I'm a big fan of him. I think Phantom is also has the cachet to pull off something like this, because I don't know the last time Phantom streamed. It's been so long that people are making up rumors that Phantom left AMP. There's something going on here. Like, Phantom has been offline, off the internet for an extended period of time, but he has also built a cachet where, like, when he comes back, people will be waiting. People will be waiting. And the reason why I say it helps is I think at a certain point, maybe mysterious is the wrong word here, but having big gaps between your content is a way to extend your career. At a certain point, especially in content creation, the things you were doing at your peak just isn't sustainable anymore. The things you were doing at your peak, you set the bar so high, right? That to keep on increasing the bar, you literally need to slow down. You literally need to slow down and take your time so that you don't become this thing that just keeps on uploading and then the quality diminishes and at some point you lose your following. I think that's a part of this as well, right? And I think for So, he is a beneficiary of that. He is a beneficiary of that. You know what I'm saying? The big breaks, especially with how entertaining he is when he is back. He is at a point where he doesn't come back for no reason. He's going to come back for a reason. So when he drops, people wait. So I think a lesson to be learned here is building up hype and building up anticipation for your fan base. I think that is very, very important. But in terms of how he built his cult following and how, like, what makes So you know, a very attractive brand, a very attractive creator. I think there's some takeaways here that a lot of content creators can learn from. A lot of content creators can learn from. Because some of this is like he was first to market. He had some first to market advantages. But there's a lot to learn from Soluminati's brand that I think a lot of y'all would really benefit from. So, you know, we already talked about the fact that one of the main things that makes So attractive is that he's naturally funny, right? But I also think his brand is so anti-algorithm, is so anti-meta, that it actually helps him. You know, I think one of the main things content creators can always lean on is try to be as relatable as possible. You are trying to be someone's online friend. You know, people go and watch content creators to escape the overproduced nature that mainstream TV has fed us for fucking centuries. Centuries is crazy, for decades, right? That's the whole appeal of this, right? And especially now that YouTube has become this insanely produced space, to the point where I swear to God, you ask a TikToker or a Twitch streamer why they're not doing YouTube, they are damn near scared of tackling YouTube because it's the big bad wolf, which I got into it with Toasted as well in our conversation later. But I think in a world where that's the case, people are longing, people are searching for more humanness in their content, more relatability in their content. And the way So goes about it, I don't think it's intentional, but I also would not be surprised if it is intentional. Because if we look at So's content, right? Let's just go over here, right? Let's just start from the packaging. These titles and thumbnails are not good titles and thumbnails, objectively speaking. Well, let me actually retract that. Because what a good title and thumbnail is ultimately something that will hook the viewer in, that will get people to click. So I think for him, these are actually good titles and thumbnails. But traditionally speaking, these are not good titles and thumbnails. I'm just keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? These are screenshots from a webcam. You know, there's not much description in the title. You know, there's even when when he's talking about trending stuff, he does put him in the title. But you get what I'm saying. Like, traditionally speaking, I would never advise someone to just put out, you know, a title thumbnail where it's just endgame, or if it just says hi with a devil. Like, I would never tell someone to do titles and thumbnails like this. But on the contrary, it does stand out. It does stand out, right? In a sea of, you know, because let's just go to my homepage here real quick. In a sea of overly produced titles and thumbnails, if you see one of these very simple, like, it's kind of similar to this thumbnail right here from Zaya Speaks, right? Very simple. It kind of stands out when everyone is so overly produced and have all these high level edits, in my opinion. So I think that's one thing that So leans into. But I also think in the content, he leans into authenticity. He leans into being anti-algorithm. Like damn near literally. I know literally is a commonly misused term nowadays, but his whole spiritual soul pivot was about breaking the matrix and seeing the real, you know, opening your third eye, you know, breaking the matrix. Like, that is literally what that pivot was. So is that's just a part of the branding that I think he's really nailed down. But even if we watch the content, right, he doesn't edit anything. Like, I'm pretty sure all these videos are one take videos right? He leaves all the cussing in. He leaves all the pauses in. He leaves all the mistakes in, right? I don't know what camera, mic, excuse me, let's start with the mic. I don't know what mic he's using, but it's not like an extremely high quality mic. And then the camera he's using, I'm pretty sure he's still using the exact same webcam he's been using for years. Or maybe it got worse because this...
Story time.
Okay, never mind. This is still a webcam. This is all webcam. This is the same equipment. You know what I'm saying? So... The takeaway here to me is, especially for my equipment nerds out there, and I am a self-admitted equipment nerd, please, for the love of God, do not let it stop you from creating content. That is one. But also, two, your equipment choice actually matters in terms of the audience you're trying to collect. Collect is crazy. The audience you're trying to bring in. And sometimes the equipment is too good. I truly think that's the case. Sometimes for what you're going for, you can't have a camera that's too good for what you're doing. And there's actually certain advantages to using lower quality shit. Right? I think if you're a TikToker and you're trying to be like a personality TikToker, I think there is a lot to be said about intentionally using your phone, because people relate to iPhone footage the most because it is something that everyone has in their hand. Everyone kind of like even subconsciously knows when they're looking at iPhone footage, right? You know, everyone knows the angle of holding your phone and taking a selfie and taking selfie videos. Right, everyone knows the act of zooming in, what that looks like with the handshaking, the handshakiness in the footage. Like everyone knows all these different little indicators, and people lean into that. I think that's a part of it, and I feel like if those people, one, did not create the content because they didn't have a camera, they wouldn't be where they are. But also, too, if they used the camera, I don't even think the content would be as viral as it was. I think that's just the reality. And I think for content creators out there, like I've damn near thought about, like if I were to stream again, excuse me, because I've done it before, I might literally purposely use a lower quality webcam to get a certain vibe off. You know what I'm saying? I think Aiden Ross actually did this recently, right? Aiden has access to whatever fucking quality camera he wants. But when he made his return and tried to build the set of the LA house, he also, and this is a part of the marketing, this is a part of the nostalgia, this is a part of the relatability, he also used the webcam that he used to use. And again, while back then, you could argue it wasn't intentional, now, that is an intentional choice. That is an intentional choice. I think another example of this is Kai Cenat using the same broken chair as a bit in his content. I think that is a way for Kai to subconsciously and damn near intentionally say, yo, I may be this big content creator now. I may be famous, but I'm never going to switch up on my chair, right? I'm still the same dude rocking with these same chairs that you got. I'm still the relatable dude that you once related to, you know, and I haven't switched up now that I'm rich. But in actuality, he may have. You know, I believe, you know, the way Kai moves right now is not the way Kai used to move back then, for better or for worse. I don't know him personally, but if I had to put money on it, not to say that he's gotten more toxic or he's gotten more devious or anything like that. Maybe it's just, you know, be more cautious with the people around you, like something innocent like that. But you implement these little things in your content that just makes you just a little bit more little bit more relatable. And I think over time, those things add up to the point where you get a Soluminati situation. You know what I'm saying? So again, I think there's a lot of really, really interesting things to learn from So. Because it is really, I think it's even surprised him. And I should have mentioned this earlier. For those who do not know, Soluminati has returned to streaming this month. After, again, these big-ass month-long, year-long breaks. Like, I would say he hasn't been a consistent content creator for what looks like 4 years now. 4 or 5 years. That's how long it's been, right? He comes back on his first stream. Doesn't promote it anywhere. The only place he promoted it was on his Twitter. That's it. He just uploaded a link. Not even any. Like, he just uploaded a link. And we all know Twitter suppresses links when you upload them. First stream, 8,000 people. Off the strength of him going on a Twitch channel where he hasn't gone live in 5 years. And just a Twitter link. With no explanation. 8,000 people in that bitch. You had Rage in that bitch. You had Aiden in that bitch. Kai maybe even been in there. DDG was in there. Right? First stream. Just off of that alone. And then, after, him being consistent for literally just a month, combined with his impact and influence and him being treated as one of the OGs, being respected within the space, combined with this whole Streamer University, Zoe Spencer beef, bro had 80K in a stream a couple of days ago. Like, that is insane. That is absolutely insane. That is absolutely insane. And I am confident now that if So keeps this up, and with the way he's moved in his life, while yes, over these last 3 to 4 years, could he have made more money being consistent? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it could also be a case of he's made it by just fine these last 3 to 4 years with the money he made, the 3 to 4 years prior. And because of how he's moved, this streamer pivot may have just extended his career for another 4 to 5 years. Right? So all in all, the way he's moved has extended his creator lifespan by nearly a decade. And a lot of that was done by slowing down. A lot of that was done by being intentional and remaining authentic to yourself. Which, again, is much easier said than done. And I'm going to just keep it a buck. Not everyone is as entertaining as Soluminati. He did also have advantages being in the game as early as he did. I don't know if someone can come up like So now. But I think there's a couple things that creators can still learn from So. So shout out to So. Shout out to So. Simple. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to AI talks, man. And I'm not talking about Allen Iverson, unfortunately. I have purposely been trying to learn more about AI. One, because for my job, we've been looking into ways to utilize it to become a little bit more efficient. But also personally, I feel like AI by the day is becoming this undeniable thing. And not that I feel bad, but I genuinely feel like I was missing out on something really, really big by not being involved in it and not knowing what the fuck is going on. Because everyone is raving about it, so I really had to see what the hype was about. And also, how I can use it in my personal life. And let me tell you this right now. I have vastly underestimated the power of AI. My goodness. I've been treating it like Bruno Caboclo. And I know that's crazy. But everyone's been saying, you know, we're just in the beginning stages of AI. We still might be. We're in the beginning stages of AI. You know, it's going to take a couple years for this shit to really take off. So don't overreact. But we're looking in like year 4 and year 5. And AI has advanced enough for me to like pay attention to it, because you can legitimately, like, it's a usable product right now. It's a usable product right now. So you might be asking, SOLZ, how have you used AI and Chat GPT? I have mainly used it as a brainstorming tool. I have mainly used it as a brainstorming tool for content purposes. And that's not to say that, you know, all of my content is just being fed to me by Chat GPT and I'm not thinking about anything creatively. But I do like I've been using it as a person is crazy, but as an outlet to workshop ideas that I have in my head, because there's certain things that have just been like on my mind in terms of how I want to build my brand, some concerns that I have, you know, some thought processes that I have, that I feel like it's worth workshopping with someone exactly how I feel the way that I do. If there's, you know, a quantitative way to back it up, you know, is there any pushback for it? How is the best way to go about these different things? And that's what I've been using Chat GPT to do. I literally spent like 2 hours yesterday just locking in on what I want my personal brand to be, right? So I would, you know, talk to Chat GPT about like, you know, what's my personal brand right now? You know, these are my concerns with where I want to take it. On one hand is this, but on the other hand is this. You know, and I literally like, what are your thoughts? And it would give me like pretty fucking good advice. I ain't gonna lie. So it's one of those things where like, if you don't have the right person to talk to because you don't have the right mentor, or you just don't have the right circle around you, or people are just straight up unavailable, I think it's a way for you to like ask questions without judgment, without the fear of judgment, without the fear of like these social pressures or whatever, because, you know, ultimately you're talking to a robot, and you're also talking to someone who has access to a bunch of data points to back up what they're saying as well. But yeah, I think it's been very helpful just workshopping certain thoughts and ideas that I have as a person. I'm gonna just say as a person to bounce ideas off of. And I know that may sound vague, but I'm definitely seeing it now. Like I think one of the go-to things that I do is, yo, can you check out this page and analyze what content pillars are succeeding for them? Like which content performs the best? And it gives me really, really good results. You know, and it can get a little bit more complex than that. Another one is for tutorials. Like if there's anything technical that I want to look up, I used to go on YouTube, look up how-to videos, you know, and watch the video. And, you know, sometimes I'd go on Google, search for it, and there'd be an article. But I now I just go to Chat GPT, and if I want to look up how to turn on a setting in my camera or figure out how to do this edit on Premiere, it'll literally give me like a step-by-step guide, very detailed step-by-step guide on what I need to do to do the thing that I want to do. And it just, you know, it skips the whole process of needing to watch like a 7-8 minute video for like a minute of actual content that you need. It's very helpful. It is very helpful. Let me say that. It's very helpful to just build something, to make something to build off of from a creative lens, but also for that is very helpful. But nevertheless, the reason why I want to talk about it today is because of an announcement that was made today. And that announcement is Google. My goodness. It's getting scary out here, y'all. Say goodbye to the silent era of video generation. Introducing VEO 3 with native audio generation. Quality is up from VEO 2, and now you can add dialogue between characters, sound effects, and background noise. VEO 3 is available now in the Gemini app for Google AI Ultra subscribers in the US. So here's an example.
This ocean, it's a force, a wild, untamed might. And she commands your awe with every breaking light. This ocean, it's a force,
So there was already the breakthrough of, a couple months ago being able to generate images, with certain stylistic choices. Video is something that people have experimented. Like I've seen other AIs try to tackle the video aspect, and a lot of it is just very rough around the edges. The audio aspect hasn't been tackled, and it looks like it's being tackled now. And again, this is just V1. This is just, things getting started. And there's a couple more examples that I can show here real quick, of video examples, because this is TBH. This is insane.
Black queens forever.
Snow bunnies never.
Black queens forever.
Snow bunnies never.
Black queens forever.
Snow bunnies never.
Black queens forever.
This is crazy. This is Roberto Blake.
Using the Flow project. I want to remind all of you, this is the worst this will ever be. So I had it generate the actual image for this, and then I had it animate that image. And I also want to show you character consistency with this, because this is just absolutely wild in terms of what it's capable of. You could make a graphic novel style game with your cutscene animations just using this. It's that serious, you guys. It's that wild. So this is actually really well done. This is like crazy how advanced this is. And this is the worst this will ever be, by the way. So yeah.
So, and Google released a bunch of AI shit today on top of this. Like, this is not the only thing that they launched. They launched a bunch of stuff today. Like, Google is actually going insane. But there's a lot of concerns with this from an ethical lens, right? But I'm gonna only talk about it from the content lens, for the purposes of this podcast and what it is. I think be prepared to see a lot of AI slop, a lot more AI slop on the internet. Just be prepared. And I think now more than ever, media literacy needs to be taught in classes at a very young age. It should damn near be a fucking subject at this point, in my opinion. Because I maintain on this podcast, the internet already was not even as... It wasn't regulated as much as it needed to be regulated before the AI boom. The AI boom just made it harder to regulate all of this. Right? So from that lens, we do live in scary times. But in terms of how this affects content and content creators, I'm going to be honest. I think those faceless channels, on one hand, faceless channels just became easier to make, especially with advancements in other areas of content creation. But on the other hand, I genuinely think it is going to be harder to grow in those niches. And also, there's going to be less demand in those niches. Maybe this is me being optimistic about the AI boom. I think for animation, I ain't gonna lie. For animation specifically, the AI boom is not good for that industry. For the static art industry, it's not looking good for that industry, right? Because a lot of these images can just be made with a snap of a fucking button now. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, the end product, that is what the end product is looking for. And if these companies, if these production people, production staffs can cut costs by tenfold because they're just using AI, they will do it. If they can get the exact same feel, like I still think there's gonna be a market for directors who, you know, need to direct certain angles and, you know, direct a certain feeling of a set and to control the overall high level stuff. But in terms of the low level meticulous work that historically has been needed to be done, I think, you know, AI is a real danger to that. But going back, maybe this is me being a little bit too optimistic about this AI stuff. But I do think AI and how much more popular it's gotten is creating a want, is creating a need, is creating a market for more humanness and human interactions. I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with Soul earlier, right? In a world where everything is so overproduced, people are looking for the raw, authentic shit more. People are looking for that. That becomes more attractive. And I think AI is an extension of that. And I think there is a bigger market now for more authentic content. More authentic, you know, things to consume on the internet. I am not scared for the value of Kai Cenat being hurt by AI. And maybe Kai's an outlier in this. I always bring up Kai. My bad, y'all. But for the human content creators who have built their brands around being a personality, I'm not really worried about them. You know, for the people who have built their brand off of their opinions even. You know, how they go about making opinions. The podcasters of the world. I'm not really worried about them when it comes to the AI boom. I am worried about the people who have made their content extremely transactional. I am worried about the how-to people. I am worried about maybe the cooking channels. I think cooking channel. For Teeny, I ain't worried about Teeny. Like I think certain cooking content creators, they blend their personality well into their content where people will follow them for their personality. But for those who don't, for those who are pure how-to, step-by-step guide, it's looking kind of rough. I am worried for those people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's not the doom gloom takeaway that y'all wanted from this. I think this may have. This is Google. Oh, Jesus Christ, that scared me. This may have bigger effects on bigger productions. Like really, that's where I think the bigger use cases of this are for, is to be able to create really complex imagery, really complex visuals without investing in as much resources as production staffs already do. Like I see this hitting the movie industry harder than the content creation industry. in my opinion. Like, at least from a stylistic perspective. But I think for back-end work, though, I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on how this is going to affect back-end work for content creators just yet. But I do think what's being more needed with the AI stuff is more higher level thinking, which could be a good or bad thing. I think the actual work is being less needed with AI. I still think there's still a need for visionaries. There's still a need for visionaries. There's still a need for curators of vibes, of aesthetics. And maybe, not that I'm thinking about it, maybe it is a good thing. I know that sounds crazy. I'm only saying that because I think as a creator, a lot of us did not get into this to learn how to edit. A lot of us did not get into this to learn how to record videos, to make thumbnails. A lot of us came in here to, one, either to make money. I ain't gonna lie. But two, to have the conversations that we want to have, to showcase our lives and our lifestyles, right? So if this boom comes in that takes away the need to learn about editing, about graphic design, for creative purposes, doesn't that help creativeness in that sense? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe this is all bad. But let me know, y'all. This AI stuff is truly a real brain fuck. I've been watching a lot of Black Mirror lately. I swear half them episodes is just about what happens if AI / when at this point, when AI gets really good and unregulated. But with that being said, let me know what y'all think about all this in the comment section down below, y'all. And also, enjoy this conversation that I had with my man Toasted. And I'm out of here, man. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a special guest in the building, man. One of the things I want to do on this channel is not only bring creators on, but people from the backstage world as well. I think we are fortunate enough in the creator economy for, for other people that just aren't front facing to be involved in the whole process, the whole business. And we got a close friend of mine, friend of the show, Toasted, in the building. Say, what's up, man?
Hello, how's it going?
Good. How you been? It's been a minute since we talked, for real.
I've been good, just content and doing a bunch of stuff. My plate is pretty filled right now because I've been wanting it to be filled. So, I don't know, it's just, it sounds cliche, but exciting times, a lot of stuff getting done, and just trying to, keep busy with just, job stuff on the side, just trying out new stuff, yeah.
For sure, that's dope. So if you were to give a cold pitch introduction of who you are as a creator in this creator world, what would that be?
So the pitch I always use, because I do have to do recruiting calls as part of my full-time job, I say, hi, my name is Michael. I've been doing YouTube in different forms for 8 years. I worked with some of the biggest creators in the world, such as Mr. Beast Gaming, Agent 00, AMP, etc. I've been a part of so many different and amazing channels, and I've done over 850 million long-form views across all my clients. Not shorts.
Yeah, we're not shorts merchants over here, buddy.
Yeah, no, we're not shorts merchants. Shorts are useful in different situations.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically just I've done a bunch of stuff. I've worked with a bunch of different people and everything. Done some stuff that's been great. I failed a little bit, but yeah. That's kind of my elevator pitch, basically. Just, I've done a lot. I've basically done everything besides editing, and I've edited here and there. So,
pretty solid pitch. Pretty solid. Leading with the Gymster. and AMP is definitely strong on the
Yeah.
resume. So
Yeah, don't watch the briefcase video, but I am in like 2 of the really early videos, like before Kai. So,
Oh, I remember those videos, man. I've seen the
Ugh.
clips recently.
oh my
Man,
gosh.
good times, good times. They
Yeah.
don't know about that. A lot. I've said this about Kai
They
and
shouldn't know
AMP.
about it.
They
Those
shouldn't.
videos were
Yeah, they don't know about the beginnings. They've just known since like
Yeah.
Kai's become mainstream. But yeah,
Yeah,
whole different.
I don't
verse.
think anyone knows like that briefcase video of like how long it took to film. We were at Pond City Market for I think 6-7 hours because Phantom and Duke hid this, or no, it was Duke and Davis hid the briefcase somewhere completely random, and it was just Phantom, Agents, and I just all walking around, and we were exhausted at the end. Like, there's probably some now deleted footage where I was just like, I was holding the camera. I've never held a camera before. So I'm hauling this thing. And I was just like, damn, I don't know how heavy, like, holding like a camera was and
Yeah.
everything. And I was just like, the cameraman is very tired. And good times. Good times. But yeah, basically, early AMP was quite chaotic. They've definitely fixed some things up now. But it worked. They did well in that first video. Even that first video did better than most of their channels combined. So.
For sure. Yeah, we'll definitely get into that conversation as well because AMP has become. I always had high hopes for them, but I didn't think it would be this big. But
No.
we'll get into that here in a second. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning. So like you said in your elevator pitch, you started doing work 8 years ago, but you don't have like a personal brand. You're not like
Not
a front-facing creator, so just kind of explain how you got involved in just the creator YouTube industry. Like, what was your entry point? What motivated you? This, that, and the third.
So, what's it going on? Sorry. So when I was, I don't know, 12, 13, made a Minecraft channel, watched YouTube, always grew up with YouTube. It's always been around. So naturally, watching YouTube all the time, basically never watching TV, you get kind of interested in it. And around maybe 2015, 2016, I started getting really into basketball because of the Minecraft creator who still posts content today, BOO, because he did an NBA 2K13 series. And I got really into it and everything and started watching creators over the years and stuff. Watched a guy named CSB do some rebuilds on YouTube, tuned into his Twitch streams, and I was like, yeah, I know how to do Photoshop because I've always messed around with Photoshop and everything. I was horrible at it back then. Like, it's just like really bad. I look at what I did then, I'm like, why did I get paid $3 for this? Why did I get paid $5 for this? I'd be like, just like shoo it away. But basically, I just kind of started from the bottom, got really lucky in getting to know CSB and everything, and just kind of from there skyrocketed up. And it was really just in thumbnails first. Like, I did some thumbnails for a long time for 6 Rings of Steel. Then around the same time, I got Agent, and I kind of just did thumbnails for like a bunch of people in the 2K space. Like, a lot of people know of me in basketball and stuff because I did thumbnails. So they don't really know me because I've done stuff with creators and stuff and everything. They know me because I did a thumbnail for them once, or I've done a thumbnail for someone random. Like, I even think you contacted me about a channel banner like 8 years ago. Maybe not 8 years ago, but like 6 years ago. So I was the thumbnail guy in the space. I wasn't the most popular thumbnail guy, but I was the most popular thumbnail guy on the other side, I would say.
Did you used to do those like icon packs? I know that was big in the 2K community.
No, I don't think so. I'm trying to remember what that means off the top of my head, but
Like the specific red arrows, the badges, assets that like they'd use.
Yeah, well, I would make those. I know we were the first, this is by one claim to fame, we were the first to do the green light on Agents videos. That's my claim, because I've looked on YouTube before then. We were the first to do it in 2K18. So, like, a long time ago at this point. It's like 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago. And we started doing it. And we kind of kept doing that since that point. And I didn't see anyone do it before we did it. And eventually it just kind of became like the thing where if you're going to do a thumbnail with a jump shot, you need to have it be green, or you can have it be red and all that. So that's kind of what I did, but it was mainly just like making thumbnails, and then I somehow just learned YouTube on the way. Like it just kind of like happenstance, basically. Because
Yeah.
I wasn't really a creator. I've made videos here and there. Like I still make videos here and there, but it's more like exploratory hobby for fun. Really, all my involvement's been on like helping other people. So
For sure, for sure. So at some point you do end up doing work for Agent. Could you describe like, how that came about? Because you just mentioned you started with CSB and worked your way up. Like,
Yeah.
was there anything special about contacting Agent, or maybe not? Maybe it was
well,
anticlimactic.
that was when he was big in Pro Am. I think he did like his 100 points video, and that was the year that he popped off. And I think he had like 100 and maybe 25,000 subscribers, which back in the day was a lot for 2K.
Yes.
That was like you're the top dog, you're the biggest in the world. Like it's your time to shine. So I think like the community was pretty small in terms of stuff. So I put my portfolio. He reached out to me. He offered me the glorious rate of $8 a thumbnail. And looking back, like he got a damn good deal, I would say.
Really
His
good deal.
ROI was quite high, but I've also benefited because of that, and I've made my money back off of it since. But basically, I was just really reliable, and I would respond to his stuff really quick. Like one thing that maybe I'm not as good as it now, but I was back in the day when you kind of like needed to, is like just being responsive and being there, and even just saying, because I did robotics, like, hey, I'm not around, that's fine. But I was able to be like really consistent and around and everything. And I think just like over time, I just developed a close relationship with him and everything. So because I just was really responsive, and honestly, it worked pretty well. Like he got up over 1 million subscribers. I know he doesn't post on the channel anymore, but
Yeah.
like that was like a really good partnership, I would say. So
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've noticed about like really good workers for YouTubers is reliability. I think more than anything. I'm gonna be honest, I'd take a person, an editor, a designer who's 90% reliable. Well, I don't know about 90, but like I would rather take someone way more reliable than someone who is just more technically skilled. Because I need to count on you for these timely things. I need good communication from you. So when I work with people who are horrible communicators, take long ass times to respond and turn around things, that really does annoy me. I
Yeah.
may have been spoiled though. I don't know.
I mean, if you're like bad at something, not bad. I was bad at Photoshop back then, but I was good enough to have someone pay me to make a thumbnail.
Yep.
But overall, like if you're newer and you're not responsive and you're just bad at that anyways, bad at communicating, just pick the person that's better anyways, who's just as bad of a communicator. If you're a lot better of a communicator and you're there, like, yeah, you'll grow and everything. It's kind of about the mindset or personality. It's really easy to just be like, oh yeah, I can rely on this person to get me a thumbnail like every other night for like 3 years. Or like 6 Rings of Steels, where I got him a thumbnail like every day, basically for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was on top of it and everything. And I would always get it around time. Like it was the time he gave me that stuff. So I was always good about that. It got a little less better over time just because you kind of get comfortable and everything. And, you know, that fire just kind of changes, or I was like doing school and stuff and everything, and just kind of roles change. But like even now and everything, like I'm reliable in what I need to be reliable in. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that I've taken that over to other fields as well. Also managing my own channels. So was there a time where you kind of realized that there's an actual career to be had working for other creators, or did everything just kind of happen accidentally and things just, came across your desk?
it was a complete accident. No idea how I'm doing this today. I completed high school. I completed college. Many successful people across different niches and different areas have told me that I should have dropped out or I could have dropped out. I said no. The only reason why I'm doing this today is because, unlike other fields, I have a lot more reps than everyone else. I have 8 years of experience and I'm only 24. That puts me ahead of a lot of other people to where I'm able to like have my portfolio be built. But really, like, I kind of just got lucky with stuff. Like, I was just helping Agent with titles and strategy. I'm occasionally smart. I would say other people are like, you're really smart. I don't give myself that much credit. Maybe I should. But people are like, yeah, you're smart and everything. So naturally, like, like Asia and I would talk back and forth, like, what do you think about this title? What do you think about that? What do you think about kind of the, like set and strategy? And it was like, all right, well, you're pretty good at this now, Agent said. Like, I should probably just pay you to do this. Like, you want to get paid to do the same thing you're doing now? And I wasn't going to turn down money.
Yeah.
I was a broke college student. I was making a couple $100s a month doing thumbnails, but like I went from making like a couple $100 a month to then a couple $1,000 a month to having a full-time job and doing college in like between November and February. It happened so quick because it was the pandemic. I was home for 3 months. I had so much time. Agent and Low launched Playback. I helped steward that. But then Clubhouse came, I got in contact with Mr. Beast. He was like, I want to hire you for something. And I was there for like 9 months, and I've floated around different places ever since and everything. But it all kind of just happenstance, and I kind of just got into it. And yeah, it's a really fun career. And it's one where you just have to be like really specialized. Like,
Yeah.
there's plenty of YouTube strategists or people around YouTube and everything, but many of them are like at different levels to where like someone can come to me or come to someone else that's like of that similar level, and like we can help a channel go a lot more like viral, or just be good with practices and stuff and everything, or even just like being like just like a second creator, basically just being like another person to just bounce off of. So a complete accident.
And I think that's one thing that people just in general need to accept, is that luck is just involved in life. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Like I've said that multiple times on this podcast, like there's certain advantages that you have in your life that come across, and you know, it's normal, it's common for people to take advantage of those things that come across. It doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't earn what you have, or I just think I don't like this bad connotation with luck. Like luck is involved in a lot of things in life. Like you take chances on stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, like I've been lucky, I've been unlucky. But if I wasn't like prepared for when I was lucky, like if I wasn't in school, if I wasn't working with an agent, and I had Clubhouse during that winter, that January of 2021 when it launched, and I'm in a room with like it was like Mr. Beast, it was Ian from SeatGeek, it was like Daryl Eves, Logan Paul. It was like a stacked room. And if I wasn't like prepared and wasn't in the space, it'd probably just be like, hi, blah, 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 blah. You know, I do this and this, and bye. Nothing would ever happened. But the fact that I was doing stuff, it's like where preparation meets the moment, basically. Like you can get lucky, but if you don't do anything to like be prepared for when you are lucky, it's just gonna pass by and you'll be like, I'm never lucky. Odds are you probably were at some point. You just like dropped the ball on something, whether it was your fault or not.
For sure, for sure. Well, since we're on the topic of luck, I do want to get your take on this as a content strategist yourself. How much luck is involved in content creation? Very controversial topic. Some people think it's 100% luck. Some people believe it's 0% luck.
The first channel can be like 50% luck. Because I've seen people, you can just accidentally get 1 million subscribers. It sounds crazy, but you can just do enough things wrong, or you can accidentally do enough things right in a row to where it's just like, boom, you're big. When it comes to replicating that success, probably like 5, maybe 10 at the most. But most between like 0 and 10%. Like some things might break your way, but not a ton, because you can do something once by accident, but it's hard to replicate something twice if you don't know what you're doing. So I think if you're like starting off and you have a channel that does well, like great, cool, congratulations. If you're trying to venture into another thing or start a second channel, like you see it all the time, some people make second channels and they kind of flop compared to their first channel, or they try something brand new and it flops, or they aren't able to pivot when they need to. Like those are people that kind of got a little lucky, and they're kind of like, well, if this worked a year ago, this should work now. And it's like, no, that's not the case. You have to be on top of your stuff, and you may have just gotten a little lucky. But it's mostly skill.
Yeah.
But everything has luck involved.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think sustained success on YouTube or just anywhere in social media There's not much
Yeah.
luck in that. Sustained
No.
success. Now, that initial boost, I do have this theory that a lot of beginner creators just they just aren't armed with the knowledge that they need to like sustain growth and actually
Yeah.
make well performing videos. So a lot of content creators really are just shooting in the dark, and just just they I think now they understand the importance of a niche and consistency and all those different things. But ultimately, people are still shooting in the dark, and once they find that thing that sticks, they just try to build on that. I think knowledge has gotten to the point where people get that as well. The one thing I have noticed, though, from those crop of people is that they rely too much on confirmation bias for the rest of their career. Like, they believe, like, the way they blew up is the only way to blow up. And, when they give advice to other people on how to blow up, it's just from the lens of how they blew up, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So,
Yeah, 100%. That's like, yeah, it's like confirmation bias, it's survivor bias, it's all of that. If you blew up one way, of course you're gonna believe that's the only way. You see other people blow up, but I feel like now data and research is pretty well integrated into YouTubers. I think Mr. Beast launching View Stats kind of helps with that. There's a couple of other tools that are a little bit more mainstream, but even like 3-4 years ago, like the space was so just like the Wild Wild West. Like when I started doing strategy, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West. Like we would make thumbnails, Agent and I, and it would be like a clickbait setup, and it'd just be his photo, really simple image. And we were like, oh, this happens to be working. Let's keep doing that. Not knowing any of the really good principles about thumbnail, like you want a few elements, you want to like look good, you want to make sure it's like visible. And we just happenstance to do things right over and over again. We're like, oh, we should keep doing that. It works. But I think just like overall now, like there's so many tools at your disposal, and there's just so many people like that just give like free advice on Twitter and YouTube, where if you spend the time to learn YouTube and learn how a channel works, you might not succeed on your first try, but you'll be in a much better place than people were like 5 years ago. Like someone that's launched a channel and launched another channel, if they're launching like a third channel at this point, they probably know what they're doing down to a T, and it will work to a certain level as long as they've done their research and everything. There's just enough data to do that now. So
yeah. Well, speaking on people who give advice as their content, there's definitely been an uptick over these last couple of years, in my opinion, because, again, cat's out the bag. Content is big
guys,
business.
YouTubers make a lot of money.
Yeah. Content
Don't
is
forget.
big business. Yeah, we see the lifestyles that Mr. Beast and Kai have. Do you have any comments or maybe even problems in terms of this uptick in, like, creator advice? Because that I'm going to just keep it a buck. There is a decent amount of bad actors out there that give horrible
Oh yeah,
advice.
of course there's bad actors out there. It's the grifters. We're in the age of grifting. Like, it's most of the stuff is signal. Or like the thing now on Twitter, people will post like, hey, here's 10 different niches, reply and DM me, because they want to build up their followers and stuff and everything. When it'd be like tech video, basketball, football, and it's like, yeah, that stuff does well on YouTube. There's definitely people that give good advice. Like I saw a great thread on Twitter from a guy named Wano about A/B testing, to the point where I don't A/B test anything anymore, and that's the advice I give. Only on backlog content do I do A/B testing, because he was like, here's a bunch of data why A/B testing is broke on YouTube. I was like, oh, not doing that anymore. So there's definitely like plenty of noise, but there's just so much more signal, because someone can make like 10K in a month, which if you do that on YouTube, congrats, you've done a great job. But one 10K month in like a year doesn't prove everything, especially now with shorts just like being omnipresent. Like shorts, it's pretty easy to tackle. It's a great way to get into content creation and everything. There's definitely people that are like really, really, really smart about shorts, and they know short form down to a T better than I do. But it's just like the random people being like, well, if you upload Family Guy, you can get to $10,000 a month, which is probably an actual thing on Twitter. So it's bound to happen. And I think most of that's just with shorts. Like it's kind of replaced drop shipping, basically, like the faceless YouTube.
Yeah, the
and all
faceless
that.
clipping channels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even like I've talked to you like off the camera a little bit about that and everything, where it's just like, hey, this is like a thing, you want to start your own stuff and everything. But the advice I'm going off of is like my own advice. Maybe I'm like finding stuff and kind of like taking that into account a little bit, but most of it's like, well, I know what I'm doing already. I'm just gonna launch something. I'm gonna try something out. So
Yeah. Well, I think me and you are experienced enough to know what good and bad advice is, but the target audience for people giving that advice is people who do not know what they're doing.
yeah,
So for those people who do not know what they're doing, like what advice do you have to vet out who to actually learn from and who not to?
it sounds crazy, but the best way to do that is just you need your own data. Yeah, you can trust other people and everything, but from before there's some confirmation bias and everything. Like you need to like do stuff yourself, whether that's posting or like if we're going to the research, like definitely the easiest way to see is if you follow enough reputable people on Twitter, like look at who they are following as well. Like if you click on a profile and they are giving advice, if enough of the people you know, like, oh, they're smart, are following those people and kind of interacting, like odds are they're probably pretty knowledgeable about the topic. But in terms of YouTube, I really don't watch too much. Besides Colin Samir, I really don't watch too much creator content on YouTube specifically. Maybe a couple people here and there, but their content's like designed to sell a course, which makes sense. Courses and that stuff, individual memberships make a lot of money. There's a company called Whoop who is like did like $1 billion in transactions recently
That's crazy.
just from clipping, which has become big, and like creator memberships and stuff and everything. So it's a big thing. So personally, like I stay away from that because some of them are just repackaging the same content over and over again. So you can just watch a single video on your channel and you're kind of set. But I think Twitter is the place for that still. LinkedIn is just a bunch of trash mostly. Twitter, there's just people that shit post really useful stuff into the void. Even I do that, where it's just like I'm tweeting about basketball 99% of the time, but then I'll just be like, oh, by the way, about YouTube, blah 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 blah. But it gets lost. But I don't really care if it gets lost, to be completely honest. So
Yeah. So yeah, that's one part of it. Really try to vet out your sources, but also another part of it to me is stop watching tutorial videos. Do not get stuck in tutorial hell.
I think a little bit of tutorials.
Yeah,
Like
a
in
little bit, a
Photoshop
little
and
bit.
Premiere. But if you're watching a tutorial about how to scale a channel to 10K, odds are there's a million other people doing that same thing. Like, just do it and try it. Maybe you watch it just to see kind of what they're doing,
Yeah.
but use it just as like a loose reference point. Not a strong reference point, just like a loose reference point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think passively watching it from time to time, just taking a different perspectives, I think that's fine. But I just know personally, and I've also seen other people go through this as well. They just get stuck in, how to like the how-to videos, the how to grow videos. That just becomes their feed to the point where a week has gone by and you still haven't made a video because you're trying to be such a perfectionist when you could have had like 3 videos in that time span and just could have incrementally improved every single video. So
yeah, or like one thing I've been trying to do this year is learn a little bit more about clipping and then also kind of like UGC content because it never really was. It was a thing a couple years ago, and I know people were getting paid for it with the steak ads and stuff and everything, but it's a little bit more mainstream now. So I'm trying to like immerse myself a little bit and everything, and like yeah, I'll see like some sort of like little tutorial. Maybe I'll like comb through it quick, but it's mostly just like, all right, I'm gonna test something out. Will it work? Probably not. Short form is not my specialty. I've done a few videos really well in short form, but hooking someone on a long form video is inherently a lot different than hooking someone on a short form video. So that's something where I want to get better at that because short form content is somehow still becoming even bigger and bigger. I thought I would kind of hit a little bit of a a peak, but not yet, and I don't think anytime soon, to be honest.
Yeah, nah, short form content is a beast. I even had a tweet on the timeline the other day. What happened to the YouTuber, man? We're losing recipes, man, but that's a different discussion for another day. We could also have it as well at some point separately. But I do want to ask you, who are some of the creators that you've worked with that obviously you're comfortable saying?
Let's see. I am comfortable with saying Mr. Beast Gaming. I worked for there. Worked with Agent worked with AMP. I work currently creative with Brandon Collymore at VDE on YouTube, biggest WWE YouTuber.
Yep.
In terms of other people I've past work with, it's some Minecrafters and like a couple other people like here and there on the spot.
Yeah,
But
passive work. Well, not
yeah,
passive work.
just like
Just
passive
one-off.
work
Yeah.
or like thumbnails. Like I did thumbnails for like Destroying back in the day. Like just like here and there. Like my roster isn't the biggest in the world because honestly, I spent half of the time I've been working with Agent. I did work with Nick Burks like a year and a half helping his team out. So it's like mostly my stuff has been pretty big chunks of employment. There's been smaller ones here and there or just stuff where I don't mention it because it's just not relevant or it didn't end well content wise and everything. I have failed on content. Like it does happen. So it's not really worth bringing up because I'd rather highlight the more strengths and weaknesses. But if someone asks me like what's a piece of content that failed, like I'll speak about it.
Yeah.
In like an interview or something. Maybe not now, but
Okay. So the reason I just want that to get that list out there is for my follow-up question. What are some commonalities that you've seen working with the biggest content creators? Like what are some characteristics about them, the way that they move, the way that, you know, they are on camera that you find common in a lot of the creators that you work with?
they are insane in a good way. In a good way. Let me preference that. Whether differing degrees, these people kind of just like breathe, they eat, they sleep YouTube. It's just YouTube all the time in different ways, or just like content. And they're just like grinders. Like maybe they have like a little bit more of a low key personality. Like I'll use Agent again. Agent's personality is pretty low key, but the dude's a grinder. Like he'll work and he'll do a bunch of stuff. And now it's streaming. It's not really YouTube as much, though his YouTube's doing really good. His clips channel, but he'll just grind and just kind of like a low key grind. Or there'll be others like a Mr. Beast or people like in that caliber of creators where it's like, hey, everything falls on me. If I am gone, if I like have to go somewhere and I'm not available, stuff stops.
Yep.
I'm the only one that can solve this problem. So those people are more stressed and they're kind of like, I just have to be like Kobe mentality all the time and everything. And if I'm not, then stuff's just going to fail and people are going to lose their jobs. Or there's just others to where they're really comfortable with content. Like Brandon. Brandon's really comfortable with content. He's really into content, but he's not like a diehard, I would say, in terms of just like eat, breathe, sleep YouTube in terms of like how it appears, where like he just enjoys doing it so much that it doesn't come off that way. Like he genuinely just has a good time doing it and it's just like fun for him to where, yeah, he used to do thumbnails and stuff and everything, but it doesn't feel like a grind to him. At least that's not what it feels on my end. So there's definitely like different kind of like subsets, but the biggest one is definitely like all of them are just like grinders. Like they probably work more in a week than anyone else in terms of just like people in the like creator economy. Like their job is not a 9 to 5. It is a 24/7, 7 days a week type gig.
I will say, even look at, you know, the content creators that I know, can definitely agree. A lot of the content creators that I know go great lengths to become great content creators to succeed in this thing, for better or for worse, both personally and for their content. But just, yeah, I even myself, I consider myself a person with an obsessive personality when I really get into things. So
yeah, and I mean, I do too. Like I work a fair bit and everything. Maybe some of it's on obviously the full-time job. I spend a lot of time on that, without doubt. But outside, like side projects and stuff and everything, or helping out Brandon, like I'm probably doing something most hours of the day. But that's just kind of like what my personality is. Like I'll play Madden, I'll do some other stuff, but I'm mainly just like I like to do stuff. I wouldn't call it like being like maybe I am a workaholic and I just deny it. Or like when I graduated, I remember making a tweet being like, graduated college and I got my degree in physics and I got my degree in data science and I did all this YouTube work. People are like, how did you do that? I was just like, well, I kind of just did it. I don't know what the big deal is here. So some people just have like different like barriers to how much work they can do and all that. And it definitely like goes up and down over time and everything. Like at some points, like right now, I'm really confident about my work. A year ago, I was not confident at all. I was just down in the dumps. Stuff was just not going great. And it was just like, I felt like I lost my touch. Like I didn't know how much longer I was gonna do this stuff, to be completely honest. But I've gotten like my confidence back and everything, so I've like enjoyed the work a lot more. So that comes into it as well. They're confident. So
Yeah, I've definitely had stretches like that as well.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I feel like it's damn near necessary. I can't say, I don't want to speak too extreme here, but it really, at the very least, really does help to have an obsessive mentality if you yourself are an aspiring content creator. Because in the beginning, a lot of it is free work. You're not going to get paid. You still have
you're
to
not
be
gonna get paid or
consistent.
lose money.
Yeah.
Like if I'm starting a new channel, starting a new project, I am basically signing up to lose money for a month or two, in the hopes of recouping some of that income back. And depending on the niche you pick and the quality you pick, that can take a while, or the math doesn't end up working out, and you're basically like out just like money.
Yeah, but mind you, that's
Or
a person that
yeah,
already knows what he's doing. Again,
yeah,
going back to our conversation earlier, a lot of beginner content creators
yeah,
literally don't even know what to do. So for a lot of beginner content creators, it really does take a year or two of free labor, essentially,
yeah,
to get things going.
yeah. That's why it's better. Like all the people that come up are usually like between like I don't know, like 16 and 22,
Yeah, 22.
because that's the ages where they're in high school or they're in college. Because most likely you don't need to care about bills, or the bills you need to care about are so small to where, yeah, if you grind a bunch and your YouTube channel makes like $1,000, or you're streaming, posting on YouTube, and you make like $1,000 for the month, you're fine. You're set. That handles everything you need to. Mom and dad send you some money, and you're good, or you have a good support system. Once you kind of get past that, it's like, well, if you want to start something new, you basically need to, in addition to your full-time job, you need to grind on top of that. Like that's what Cash Nasty did. He had a full-time job working, and he'd come home and play 2K and just grind and grind and grind. Like he is one of the few people that, like, maybe not few, that's the wrong word to use, but where if you're stuck in something and you feel like you're stuck, you basically have to do double the work to get out of it. And I think it's paid off. I hope he likes his life and everything as it is now. He's had a really successful career. So, but yeah, it's definitely like it takes a year or two. I don't find many people blowing up in the same year. Even like when Kai came onto the scene, he was doing content for a couple years at that point.
Yeah.
And he didn't really blow up immediately. Like I know he joined AMP, but he was still maybe at what, 150,000 subs. He was not very big at all, but they just really liked his personality. So, and he blended really well with them.
Yeah, that is one thing about Kai that people just, at this point, because he's so mainstream, they're just finding out about him the last 2 years. They don't know. Kai already had a relatively big platform before joining AMP. And then, AMP leveled that up. And then the Twitch leveled that up, and then AMP went with it.
Yeah, it was a good symbiotic relationship. It worked well for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, Duke, Phantom, Agent, and Davis were all very big and very successful 2K YouTubers. But naturally, in a video game niche, that's besides like a Minecraft or a Roblox, there is a cap. And the cap is basically where they got. I haven't seen a creator to this day really be bigger than they were back in the day. I don't know if you've seen it on the other side. I don't really watch 2K content anymore, to be honest.
No, I don't know.
But there's nobody that kind of gets to that level unless they do other stuff outside of that. So a lot of people who started as sports creators have transitioned to other stuff successfully. But there's naturally like a cap. Like you're only going to be so big, and you're not going to be like the biggest in the world ever. I think what AMP was meant to do and worked, kind of get them more like into the mainstream and more or less video games, more into real life content that worked really well with Sidemen and other people. And I think Kai, not being really a gamer, more of this like mainly IRL person coming into it, was really good because they kind of needed that. He had a lot more experience with that type of content than they did. And I think when he started streaming and everything and all that, and people were like, oh yeah, we should do it too. Like the best creators are really good at copying, is the right word to use, but it doesn't feel right when someone says you copied someone. It's like kind of disparaging.
Bad
but
connotation.
Like, oh
yeah,
it's bad connotation. But oh yeah, I should copy this creator. It works. So that's kind of what happened. And now AMP, like, yeah, they post videos, but they're basically just a streaming group, to be honest.
Yeah.
But a very successful one. So.
Very, very successful one, absolutely.
And also brand partners in that tone. So, all that. So
yeah, they're getting Nike sponsorships.
Mm-hmm.
Bang moved on from the Hype House. From my TikTok heads out there, all them Hype House videos had Bang energy drinks. Nope, they now belong to AMP. So crazy how things work out. Speaking of mistakes, I guess I don't even know where. That's just a segue I got for this next question. What is the biggest mistake that you think not bigger? What is the biggest mistake that beginner content creators make, and you cannot say not upload enough?
Okay. I think the biggest mistake. Okay. Okay. The biggest mistake that new content creators make, besides uploading, is assuming that like basically one video will fix everything and that this one video will be it. It takes a while. And I think outside of like, you know, if you don't post enough, obviously stuff will not go well. But if you're not improving in your post as well, like it sounds cheesy, but if you can't find one piece of your content to improve in each video and you're a new creator, you're probably doing something wrong. Yeah. Like there's probably something you can change and make better. And if you watch other people in your niche, like find ways to improve. So I think some people don't do that and they just kind of assume like, yeah, you know, I've posted this same video in a different way for the 37th time and now it's the time I'm going to get big. It's like, no, that's not the case and everything. Or like, I think it could come back to shorts a little bit. Like you have one good short and you're like, I can transition in the long form. Like, no, those are two very different things. So, but I think it's mainly like people are afraid to are afraid to change something because they had one success in a video when odds are that video could have been better if you fixed one thing about it.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I've even heard some creators say that the worst thing that ever happened to them was becoming viral because they wasn't ready for that moment and they just kind of relied on that viral moment and didn't know what to do afterwards. So.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, people go viral all the time and it's not like they've wasted their opportunity, but if you don't really know what you're doing and that's your reference point and you try it again, like it feels like you wasted your opportunity and you're never going to be big again.
Yeah.
So, but odds are there's something in your video that you can improve on or an idea you can do better to have your next video be better, and maybe you'll get to that point where you can be viral again.
Yeah, if Mr. Beast can find something to improve on every single video, you can. That's ultimately what it is.
But you don't need to copy Mr. Beast though. Mr. Beast is worth,
there's enough of those. There's enough of those.
Yeah, that's $1 billion company at this point. They can hire anyone they want. It's a blank paycheck. It's a blank checkbook just to do stuff and everything. If someone at another company is doing really good work, he will openly poach them. It's happened to people. I was poached. People get poached all the time. Like if you're trying to be Mr. Beast, odds are you will fail. But if you find like a different creator, like that's maybe like mid-sized, like 150,000 subs, he makes good income every year, is able to drive a nice car or maybe get a nice apartment and everything, like odds are like that's where you're gonna end up. And that's not a bad thing. Like, maybe you're not like the biggest creator in the world, you know, have 7 mansions, but odds are, what are you gonna use even the second mansion for? Or even like if you have like 8 cars, you can only drive 1 car at once. What are you gonna use the 7 other cars for? And insurance is expensive. I don't know about you, but
no, it's expensive here in Massachusetts too. So I definitely understand you on that.
Yeah, but odds are, if you like, obviously, if you shoot for the moon, you'll land. If you miss, you land amongst the stars. But like landing amongst the stars is still a pretty good gig on YouTube. Like you can if you make like 10K a month off of YouTube and streaming and all different sources, you kind of like just combine that together. That's 120 grand a year. That's more than most people make. That's so much higher in the United States than the median income. And you're from another country where the dollar has a little bit more purchasing power. Like you're set. So
I would even argue. I would even argue one of the best positions to be in as a creator is when you're doing it part time, and the money you make on content creation is just pure disposable income.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's kind of what mine's not pure disposable, the stuff I kind of do on the side outside of my job, but it is at the point to where it offers me a little bit more flexibility in what I want to do. I'm not like basically like chained to anything. Yeah. Like if something happens, like, it's going to suck for a second, but it's not like the end of the world. Like the sky's not going to fall and collapse immediately. So it offers a little bit more buffer room. So that's what I'm trying to build out now a little bit is, just if your eggs are all in one basket and something happens, like you can be cooked. Just like screwed. Yeah, you're cooked. I don't want to be cooked. That's not the goal. So
no one ever wants to be cooked. I know we're running a little low on time here. But just last question that I have for you, pretty big question, big scope question here. But I think YouTube has definitely changed a lot in the last 5 years. Personally, how do you think YouTube has changed in the last 5 years as a platform? Specifically, how big has TikTok and the streaming boom affected things? Do you think has been overblown? Because there's an argument for that too. Like, you know, YouTube is not this dying platform that some people think it is. But on the other side, just in our circle, in our side of things, a lot of former YouTubers are definitely trying this Twitch pivot. Some have succeeded, some have not. You know, it's just a very interesting space. The art of being a YouTuber as well, going back to that conversation earlier, I don't think there's a lot, like when people want to be a content creator now, sure, there's still a market for being a YouTuber, but a lot of people want to be streamers and TikTokers and podcasters. Like those are the big three to me.
Yeah. I think people want to be streamers and podcasters rather than YouTubers at times because they think it's easier. When in turn, like if you're an IRL streamer, your job is to, instead of keeping someone like entertained for, let's say you post a 25-minute video and you have unlimited takes basically to be entertaining. And if you're doing your due diligence and stuff, you can craft it how you want and make sure it's entertaining. When you're doing like a live stream, like there are no redos, there are no makeups.
Yep.
You basically just have to just like be entertaining all the time, or people will leave. You just have to have that right personality. But I think a lot of people try it not only because they think it's easier, but the money that a comparable Twitch streamer makes compared to a YouTuber is similar, if not a little bit more, just because of subscriptions and stuff and everything. Like if there's plenty of like mid-sized content creators that on YouTube aren't very big, and on Twitch they aren't very big at all, but it's enough to like live off of, and it's their full-time job and everything. So I think that's why it's a little bit more like, you know, inviting, or feels a little bit more alluring, is because when that happens, like it's like good money. And then a lot of the biggest creators in the world at this moment, at least like in terms of more like IRL and not counting kids content, they're kind of streamers. Like a lot of people stream these days, and it's just so much content. Like that's why with TikTok and everything, I know you mentioned how that's changed. Like TikTok has completely transformed watching videos on your phone from horizontal to vertical. And it's, you watch vertical videos on your phone, you watch horizontal videos on your TV. People watch less on computers, people watch less on laptops. It's TVs and phones really, and each of them have their different things. So streaming allows for a lot more content, but it's like very much like if you succeed, it's worth it. But if you fail, it's like, well, it is what it is. So yeah, I think that's the biggest change, is that so much more people, like YouTube is so much bigger than Netflix on TV. Netflix hasn't grown its TV audience in terms of number of people watching in the US in a year.
Yeah.
In terms of percentage of the market, YouTube keeps growing. Last month, it was like over 14% of all TV viewing was YouTube. That's bigger than like Netflix, Disney Plus, Tubi, and probably another one combined. So it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and everything. And that's kind of what YouTube is emphasizing. Like YouTube is becoming TV and cable is becoming YouTube. Like ESPN's podcast, they literally run it on ESPN2 all the time. Like you go on, like Kenny and Numbers on the Board, like they have their podcast they do for YouTube in Omaha, but they also have a show that they do for ESPN2. And they're YouTubers. And they're, not all of them are YouTubers, but like Kenny is a YouTuber who is doing a podcast show that is on linear ESPN.
Yeah.
Pat McAfee does a YouTube show that is linear on ESPN. Like that's a change, is that when cable is dying, there's this void in the market, and YouTube is kind of just like going after it, and it's working.
Yeah, I think
more money for creators. I
think that kind of explains why we haven't, like the younger generation doesn't want to tackle YouTube as much, is because I swear, I don't know if you've heard, you know, these streamers, these TikTokers talk about YouTube, but the way they talk about YouTube, it's like it's the big bad wolf. Like, they understand it's the end game, right? If you make it on YouTube, like, you are doing fantastic.
Yeah.
But they feel as if the barrier to entry to succeed on YouTube is so high that I'm gonna just go on TikTok because I can do everything on my phone. I can just, I'll just do Twitch because, you know, I just need a webcam. I can do everything at my desk. I just need to click start streaming and I'm all set to go. But with YouTube, for a lot of these creators, it seems like this big hurdle that scares them. So
yeah, well, that's because the barrier to entry on short form is so much easier. But then in addition to that, it's also the fact that it is far easier to hook someone on TikTok in terms of like, you're responsible for keeping someone entertained for 60 seconds, maybe a little bit more.
Yep.
On YouTube, the best videos have like 70% AVD, maybe not as that much anymore, but you're trying to hook people for like 15 minutes, maybe even more. That is 15 times as long in terms of how you have to keep someone entertained.
Yeah.
Or even like people like Click, for example, who does NBA these 4-hour mega streams, so mega videos and everything. Like, he's keeping someone hooked for like an hour on average. That's 60 times more than a TikTok. And if it's a 30-second TikTok, that is 120 times more that you have to keep someone hooked for. So it's big and it's daunting, but TikTok compared to YouTube, YouTubers make a lot more money. It's a little bit, if it's brand deals, the gap isn't as big as it once was, just because brands like to invest in short form. But from pure money making standpoint, long form is still the money maker. But you can scale more with short form. I will say that. Like, you can, like, there's these people that have like all these channels, all these short form channels, and they're making a ton of money every month because it's a lot easier to do a 60-second video and scale it compared to scaling like 15-minute YouTube channels. So
absolutely,
there's positives and negatives, but long form for the win.
Long form for the win. I will always be for long form, man. But like, they're even making cameras now dedicated for vertical shooting. I don't know if you've seen like what Canon's released. Like, it's literally like a camera like this, but it's built this way and the shutter is like this, like on this side. Like, it's getting crazy out here. But definitely interesting though. But with that being said, I don't want to hold you up too long here. Toasted, thank you for your time. I appreciate you for coming through. Any last words, any last pieces of advice for the people out there?
Good content wins. Yeah, good content wins.
There you go. Keep it short, keep it sweet. With that being said, y'all, appreciate y'all for coming through. Shout out to Toasted. I'll put all his links in the description of this video. Go check him out. And we're out of here. Peace.